Funding for Lucky Chow has been provided by
The mandarins are really famous.
Being an avid traveler, I've known for a long time that it really is a small world after all. Globalism and technology are making us ever more connected and our cultures more intertwined. In the world of food, American chains have gone global and Asian chains are finding their place in the United States. Everyone is finding inspiration everywhere, and trends are born out of traditions. From dumplings to desserts, maybe authenticity isn't so important after all. The soup dumpling was created right here in Shanghai. Xiaolongbao, which translates to little buns in a basket, has been around for generations. Jamie from Untour Food Tours spends her days and nights scouring China's hidden food scene. Today, she's taking me to get the best xiaolongbao Shanghai has to offer and to teach me a thing or two about its history between bites of delicious, soupy dumplings.
你好.
你好. 你好. What should we order?
All right, so I think we should get, they have a mixed steamer basket that has 3 different types, and then it's hairy crab season, so we have to get the hairy crab.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So right over here is where they make everything fresh. So you can see they're rolling out the dough, they're making the wrappers, and then they have the different fillings here.
How do you get the soup into the dumpling?
Yeah. So it's about a gelatin. So they take pork skin and pork bones, and they cook them in a low simmer in a broth. And it's like when you make chicken broth with chicken fat and chicken bones and you put it in your fridge, it comes out with that thick layer of gelatin on top.
Collagen.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
So that's what this is, and then they mince that up with the pork. When they steam it, it melts and it becomes a liquid. So there's no syringes, no ice cubes, it's all about gelatin.
So how do you think that the soup dumpling became so much a part of global pop culture?
You know, when people eat them, they're memorable. They have the interesting texture of biting into them and slurping out this hot liquid and then having a dumpling after that. The fact that they're different from most things that people have tried before makes them memorable, and then also they're pretty Instagrammable.
Okay.
好，谢谢.
Wow. How intricate this is.
Yeah. The ones that have a lot of yellow in them are the xiefan, so those are the crab roe with pork. Over here you have the danhuang, which is the salted duck egg yolk, and then the 4 that you don't really see much color coming out of, that's the plain pork.
So you're supposed to eat these as soon as they come out, right?
Right, yes.
Okay, so
With
let's get to
spoons.
slurping. The art of the slurp. I have to say, this is really not first date food.
No. You do not want to wear a white shirt when you're eating xiaolongbao. Oh, here we go. Pure crab. So these don't hold their shape.
These are huge.
Yeah.
There's so much lore behind like a simple dumpling.
There's so much lore behind all
What
of
is the history of the soup dumpling?
Xiaolongbao were invented in the late 1800s in a suburb of Shanghai called Nanxiang. The original restaurant is still there. So you can go up to Gui Garden and it's right next door. There is some legend that it was actually invented before by Nanjing or Suzhou, but they don't call those xiaolongbao. Those are tongbao. But now that the roads are all so close and the train gets you there so fast, they've all kind of sort of became the same dish.
But it's really a Shanghainese food, right? A lot of people think of it as Taiwanese because of the Din Tai Fung.
Yeah, and you do not want to tell a Shanghainese person that. That will not go down well.
Well, you've been here for 10 years. You lead culinary tours. Do you find that more and more people are asking you about xiaolongbao?
In Shanghai, everyone definitely wants to try xiaolongbao, and everyone wants to know how they get the soup inside. The nifty trick. I think that's also what makes it popular, is just the physics of it. How does it work? It's number one on everyone's list.
Xiaolongbao is really the food that my grandmother's grandmother grew up eating.
Yeah.
But do you see it becoming more and more popular, like amongst pop culture?
I think so. I mean, I think tastes across the world are diversifying and people want more Asian cuisine and want to sample authentic Asian cuisine. And xiaolongbao is definitely that.
No, I think we should finish eating this before it gets cold. But thank you so much for this tour.
Any excuse to eat xiaolongbao.
Xiaolongbao came to the U.S. as soup dumplings, and the arrival of the Din Tai Fung franchise in America in 2000 has made them even more ubiquitous. Culinary exchange goes both ways, though. When Turner Sparks moved to China as a 22-year-old, the last thing on his mind was starting a Mr. Softy conglomerate so successful that the Chinese government would take it for itself. He and Michael Kaplan of the Lost in America podcast are meeting up with me to talk ice cream, China, and culture shock. How did you get to China driving a Mr. Softy truck?
I did not. There's a whole ocean between here and there, so I did not drive. No. I went there to teach English. While I was there, my roommate from college, his grandfather started Mr. Softy in the 1950s.
Oh.
So we had the idea to open it there.
And like many American kids, I grew up knowing about the ice cream truck.
I had Mr. Softy for 10 years in Suzhou and a little bit in Shanghai in China. I was also doing comedy at the time, and that was going a lot better. And so I decided I wanted to do that full time. And to be a real American, we had to have a podcast.
He called me up and said he needed help reacclimating to America, and I've been here the whole time. So he thought I was the perfect guy for the job.
It's like coming out of prison and you don't know what Twitter is.
Exactly.
Yeah, or anything.
That's my number one fear about going to prison.
It's Twitter. Kaplan was supposed to be, he was supposed to be my guide to America, and then it turns out he's more lost than I am.
Little did he know that I don't know. I'm lost probably in every country I'd live in, but especially America.
So Kaplan and I started the Lost in America podcast about coming back to America after being gone for 12 years and not understanding my own country.
When I was growing up as a youngster in Asia, every day there would be a similar version of a Mr. Softy truck. Ding, 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 but they were serving tofu and it would run out. But I just can't imagine having Mr. Softy.
Yeah, kids would run out and chase the truck with tofu.
Yes, but it's all soybean, because most Chinese didn't really grow up with milk-based desserts.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because old Chinese people would always ask me like, oh, 你们的 ding dong ding dong 是在哪里? Like, where's the ding dong truck? They would always call it ding dong, but I never knew why.
Can we check it out?
Let's check it out.
How does it feel to be back on a Mr. Softy truck?
It feels awesome.
What are we going to be making today?
Okay, so today we're going to be making the flavors that we used to have on our trucks in China. So we're going to start with a green tea blast. Kaplan, honest opinion.
Good.
It actually
We're going to make a red bean and rice cake. And then we'll see, we have a kiwi sundae we can make. We have a ton of stuff.
Have these flavors ever been in the U.S. before?
Absolutely not.
Let's try to give these away and see what New Yorkers think.
Okay, sounds good. Should we put Mr. Softy shirts on?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's get into uniform.
Mr. Softy?
Mr. Softy, you guys want to try Chinese flavors of Mr. Softy
Want
ice
to
cream?
try?
This is green tea with red bean on top.
Right, Xing
It is very good.
Thank
The
you.
aftertaste is very good.
In China, we focus on the aftertaste, not the taste.
In America, it's the pre-taste.
It's very different.
Would you like to try some Mr. Softies?
You guys like some Chinese Mr. Softy ice cream? No? All right.
Would you like to try some Mr. Softies? Gave him my nicest smile and everything.
Kaplan looks like he's got a scheme going. My typical employees would be working a little faster than you two. I'm just going to say that. And Danielle, your shirt's on backwards.
Didn't you have an employee who once stole your truck? So
did.
I haven't done that. I haven't driven off yet.
Exactly. You're better than our worst possible employee of all time.
Set the bar low.
Try it, let us know what you think. It's a flavor from China.
That's really good. That's better than what you get here.
Oh yeah? And not
Definitely.
your average Mr. Softy, huh?
Definitely.
This is the green tea and red beans.
Do you usually have beans with your ice cream?
No.
No? How successful was the truck in China?
It was way too successful. We got so popular that the local Chinese government copied our business and then took our permits away, and now they do it.
Are you serious? Did you sue them?
No, you can't sue them. Mr. Softy China products. Get some ice cream. Red bean and rice cake ice cream.
I love rice cake.
Okay, it's red bean.
Bean?
Red bean, yeah. It's our favorite topping of Asian desserts.
Beans.
Yeah, it's good for you.
Sweet.
Sweet red bean.
I was in the truck. Did people like it? Yes.
People loved it, but it was really hard to get people to try something for free. They're like, what's wrong with you? You're giving me free ice cream from China?
See, so in China, it would be the opposite. If you said free ice cream, you'd have a line of 100 people immediately. Right?
Especially if you said from America, right?
Yes. So that's it. That's our podcast. What we just said, that's it. I think this is a
this is a
billion-dollar
billion
idea.
dollar idea. Yeah, we should get on this immediately.
Mr. Softy China in New York.
So what would they say in China?
Gambe? I don't
Gambe.
know.
All right.
Gambe to the billion-dollar idea, Mr. Softy in America.
You might have to wait to see Chinese Mr. Softy on the streets of New York, but Asian desserts have taken off all over America. Piche Ong made his name in the dessert game working with John George von Gerichten at restaurants like Spice Market, and he's famous for incorporating Asian ingredients into his exquisite and innovative pastries. Today, Piche and I are going on a pan-Asian dessert adventure right here in New York City. Our first stop? Bean Box, Scotland's innovative take on Korean bingsu.
Here's the matcha. Enjoy.
Matcha, red bean, waffle. When I was in Korea, I saw variations of shaved ice like this just literally everywhere. Everybody's Instagramming us. You have to take a picture before you eat it.
Which we forgot to do. And you know, social media really contributed to the success of Asian desserts traveling worldwide in general.
I mean, you're the dessert maestro. What gives you inspiration for Asian desserts?
I was born in Thailand and then I grew up in Singapore. And I grew up eating like dessert at any time. And in a way, like in Thailand, this would be seen as a beverage of sorts. Like
Really?
It's not necessarily a dessert because it's palate cleansing.
What inspired you to bring this concept to New York?
My business partner and I actually were in Korea for a business trip, and we had the traditional Korean bingsu, but the offering is more milk-based, doesn't really have a lot of flavor. So we started thinking, can we bring that whole entire concept into the US, but infuse the flavor into the snow itself? People come in here and they take so much time and care to taking care of the pictures that we have to make sure that every box that we present, there's an entertainment factor involved.
While Bean Box improved upon a classic dessert, our next stop is keeping an old Taiwanese tradition alive, a treat that I grew up eating on the streets of Taipei.
I feel like I just walked into a Taiwan dessert shop. This shaved ice is bigger than my head, I think. But it's really just ice with condensed milk, sugar, and then it does have quite extravagant toppings on it.
But this is a really good way to experience things that we miss about Asia.
But I just can't believe that this type of dessert would thrive in New York because what is this? Kidney beans, taro, and a taro like mochi.
I mean, for sure, it's all about textures. Then you have the soft tofu.
And then here's grass jelly, which is like really herbally, tastes like medicine. The flavors, the texture, none of this is geared for an American palate. When I was growing up in Taiwan, there would be like this rickshaw that would come every day. I knew that was time for me to get my bao bing or my grass jelly or my tofu hua, which is this tofu, freshly made tofu curd milk.
And this is the kind of thing I grew up eating for breakfast with some youtiao, you know. I think that's what we grew up with.
So are you going to be incorporating, you think, these types of ingredients in your desserts moving forward?
I love the dumplings. I love these like different flavored dumplings. You know, they're colorful and they taste great.
Growing up in New York's Chinatown, Eddie Zhen made a career for himself in fine dining and dreamed of opening his own restaurant. His plans shifted when he was traveling in Japan with his wife, and he was inspired by the kakigori shops there. Not only did he and his wife decide to open their own shop serving the delicious shaved ice desserts here in New York, but they did it right down the street from where Eddie grew up.
Hi.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Oh, wow.
So this is the hojicha kakigori with some whipped cream and lime zest. And this is the strawberry with condensed milk and some roasted strawberries.
This looks so beautiful. It doesn't even look real.
The idea of the dessert looking almost like toy or jewelry, like they're works of art.
This is incredible. I mean, we're kind of on a shaved ice quest. We've been to Korean shaved ice, Taiwanese shaved ice, but this just seems like the original version.
The kakigori from Japan, they really take pride in the water. A lot of places harvest actually natural
Spring water.
From the mountain.
That is absolutely true, yeah.
And over here, I can see that you use filtered,
Yeah, we use filtered
New York's
water.
finest.
How can you tell?
I can tell I have good palate.
Well, this place definitely feels like walking into Japan. You know, you just feel the minimalism and the refinement, attention to detail, the seasonality of the food.
I also love how the menu has a very selective offering. So everyone is a winner. You could never go wrong.
Yeah,
Which is, I think, a very Japanese concept.
Yeah, we try to keep it as minimal and do everything to the best of its ability.
Well, I think it's so great. We've met a lot of young entrepreneurs that are bringing their own spin and globalizing Chinatown in a way through food. So thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Thank you guys for coming.
After all those Asian-inspired desserts, I'm heading across the East River to see how a Brooklyn brewmaster is using Asian flavors to spice up one of America's favorite refreshments, craft beer. Garrett Oliver travels the world looking for inspiration and interesting ingredients, and he's taking us inside Brooklyn Brewery to show us how he puts them to use. Wow, so here we are at the iconic Brooklyn Brewery. I'm so impressed because you really started brewing here before Brooklyn became Brooklyn.
We are the OGs of the area. I mean, we kind of got Williamsburg jump-started and helped to make it into a community, so that's pretty cool. This actually used to be one of the great brewing centers of the world. And if you look at these bottles here, Von Hinken, Huber, Kleiner, Kulle, Knödel, back in the old days, 100 years ago, this area would have been completely German-speaking.
Really?
You would not have heard English on the street.
Well, what is it about Brooklyn and brewing crafts or artisanal spirits here?
I think it's the mixture of cultures. I mean, I think there's a thing that's special about New York is we always had everybody. Everybody was always here. The beer that we're bottling today has a Japanese background, and that's Sriracha Ace.
I love it. It's my favorite.
So it was a hop that was originally grown by Sapporo in the 1970s, but it tasted like lemongrass and lemon verbena and dill. And nobody wanted these flavors in a Japanese lager. In the early 2000s, an American hop grower decided, hey, we would like to grow that, and started to grow it in Yakima, Washington. I actually brought the first Sriracha Ace, commercial Sriracha Ace, to Japan, and we brewed with it at CHOW Brewery right outside of Tokyo.
So how did the Japanese react to the taste of the Sriracha Ace?
They really liked it. In fact, CHOW, who makes the Hitachino beers, is still brewing with Sriracha Ace today.
Do you think people consider it a Japanese beer?
I don't think they consider it a Japanese beer. I think they consider it a fusion of a Japanese hop with a Belgian beer style, making an American beer.
I think I just saw some kegs going to Hong Kong.
Yeah, we constantly have stuff that's going back and forth. Whenever I'm somewhere, I'm always looking at what can I bring home? Because with craft beer being so huge these days, everybody kind of sees all the same stuff and they know all the same ingredients. But what if I know 10 or 15 or 20 ingredients that the other guys haven't seen? That's the secret weapon.
Not only does Brooklyn Brewery ship its fusion beers back to Asia, but it's collaborated with a Korean brewer to create Jeju Brewing Company on Jeju Island, the famous Asian vacation destination.
And when I first heard the name Jeju Island, it literally sounded like something from a novel.
Right,
It's like somebody just made this up. And we want to go there and not just say, okay, here's American beer, but also dig in and create something which is Korean American in Korea, Chinese American in China, and Japanese American in Japan, but not just American.
That's so authentic because that's how we live these days, right?
Well, exactly.
We're all global citizens. I can't wait to taste this one.
Well,
the
so Sriracha Ace, this goes back to 2008, 2009. we first did Sriracha Ace. It's based on the Belgian farmhouse style. And we have done a second fermentation in the bottle like champagne, which is why the cork and the wire cage.
Huh.
So the beer has a very light texture.
So what is the ideal food to eat with this?
I think sashimi, but it's also, there's a place near here called Kings County Imperial that does really, pretty authentic Szechuan food. And they serve huge amounts of this on draft.
Beer goes so well with Asian food, period. Well, what's next?
Oh, I mean, what's next? We'd only just got started. So, I think the exploration of wild fermentations, whether it's in makgeolli or it's in sake, if we can get these fermentations going and then transfer the fermentations of things we're doing here, we can create beers that have a blend of like Brooklyn and Korean terroir, Brooklyn and Japanese terroir.
Well, I really love how you're breaking down cultures, breaking down boundaries, really bringing them together and creating what is truly like authentic, because our world is fusion. So.
Well, I kind of feel like America is so big in the world. It's like, oh, we send you McDonald's and we send you, this music and whatever else. It's like, I want to get something back. So
well, I loved seeing
the
the Brooklyn Brewery flag in Jeju Island.
You and me both.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great to have you here. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
When cultures collide, innovation can be a happy accident, which is another way of saying mistake. That's the story behind the extra-large xiaolongbao, or the XLXLB at Drunken Dumpling in New York's East Village. To help me taste test New York's most viral dumpling, I've brought along David Fung of the Fung Brothers, whose YouTube videos on Asian American life and culture have 2 million subscribers.
Hey,
Daniel.
What's up?
Good to see you.
Welcome to New York.
Thank you. What are we checking out today?
Drunken Dumpling. They have like this giant XLB that you like actually eat with a straw.
Okay. Right. You know what? I've seen it before, but I haven't had it.
Yeah.
I haven't had it yet, so I'm excited to try it.
Let me tell you about a place out east, just 15 minutes from the LA streets. Hollywood doesn't even know we exist, like it's a mystical land filled with immigrants.
How do you describe the Fung Brothers?
The Fung Brothers are basically 2 biological brothers that grew up.
So your brother's your brother?
We're real brothers. We're just trying to make a lot of jokes about, I think, growing up Asian in a Western society.
Yeah.
A lot of people have tried to unpack that issue, but not a lot of people have made it funny.
Here's a place I've been wanting to try out in New York, Drunken Dumpling. They're known for these gigantic xiaolongbao, which just seems like so wrong, right? You're supposed to be able to plump these soup dumplings into your mouth, but here you're supposed to eat them with a straw. So let's go check it out. You tell me what you think.
Okay.
Lee, thank you for having us in the kitchen. I've always wanted to see how this XLXLB is made. Tell us about your twist. What is in an XLXLB?
One day I was testing out recipes and my mom actually dropped a regular soup dumpling on the floor and it didn't pop. It was just like perfectly fine. I was like, wow, that's some awesome wrapper right there. We got to do something with it to see like how big, we can stretch it into. So that's where the idea of a giant soup dumpling came from.
Definitely to see it enter the American, lexicon and the spectrum of Chinese food. XLB is the next one after dim sum in terms of expansion into the Chinese food universe. Because I think a lot of people don't know, it's a Chinese food universe. It goes so many levels deep.
I do think that food is one of the best ways for people to learn about Asian culture. Now people know the difference between Taiwan and Shanghai because of the food.
If you really look at China, it's kind of like 100 countries put into one country.
Literally. And we all speak different languages.
We speak different languages, we eat different food, sometimes we celebrate different holidays.
The concept of melting pot, in Chinese cuisine, we literally learn a little bit of everything from the West, from the East. And that's why, bro, I claim these. Wow. I invented these in New York, okay? This is no longer Shanghainese, I own this. I'm from Beijing, I own this.
All right, man, so we have the 猪肉小笼包 and then the 螃蟹小笼包, okay? That's how you eat your, okay.
I like to do a little bite on the side.
First of all, I've seen some crazy methods over the years. I knew this one girl who pokes it, drains all of the juice onto a plate, and then drinks it off the plate. It was super weird. It's like the weirdest thing you've ever seen.
Ask her for a second date right after that.
No.
Yeah,
that was good.
That was really good, huh?
That was really good, man.
The extra large had been steamed for almost 20 minutes. The inside is burning hot. I don't suggest use the straw right away, but I do suggest use the chopstick to crack the wrapper from the center to the side.
Okay.
All right.
Yo, that is huge. That's almost like those Taiwanese lion's head meatballs.
Oh, yeah.
That's like a gigantic piece of...
Oh my gosh, look at this. Sorry, I just kind of butchered it.
It's all good. All right, I'm going in on this too.
You go for it. Wow, this tastes like a mix between a lion's head meatball and a dumpling.
Okay. So you're saying it's a hybrid?
I think it's a hybrid. I think it's a Beijing version of a Shanghainese dish.
Pretty good. Danielle, thank you so much for inviting me to the Drunken Dumpling.
Been wanting to have you. The show would not be complete without an Asian American figure such as yourself, so.
Thank you, I appreciate it very much.
Our world is shrinking more and more every day, and because of that, our palates just keep expanding. Nothing ties cultures together more effectively or more intimately than food. From Shanghai to New York, whether you're sitting down to dinner, sharing a tasty snack, or offering a toast to new friends, you'll know that it is, after all, a small, small world.
Funding for Lucky Chow has been provided by To learn more about Lucky Chow, visit luckyrice.com.